Okay, let's start building out our contact form. So in this lesson, we're going to cover off some of the basics of just essentially setting up our contact form. So I've got a basic HTML template that I'm using as my starting point, and I want to build out all of my CSS, my HTML structure, and create my links to all of my resources that I'm going to be using within that project. So I've got my basic opening and closing HTML, head, body, and so on. And I've got an opening here for style, and I'm also going to create a script tag here because I'm going to do this whole project within one file, within that index.php file. So it's going to have the PHP code at the top here. So this is where the PHP is going to sit. And so this is opening up PHP, closing up PHP, and then all the content in between here. So this is where our PHP code can sit. So let's begin creating some of our structure within our HTML. Actually, first let's link out to the Bootstrap CDN. So going over to Bootstrap, we're just going to get the basic CDN for Bootstrap, so you can get that at the getting started here. You've got some options to download it, but I'm just going to link to the web CDN. So grab that, bring that into our project. So I'm going to place it in a top, just above that style, just above the style element, so that if I do need to make any updates to the Bootstrap classes, I can do that within my style code here. And also let's link out to the JavaScript and jQuery. So I don't believe we're going to need any of the Bootstrap JavaScript, but we will need a jQuery library. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the current library here and bring that into our project as well. And again, putting it above the script tags so that I can interact with the jQuery library content so that it loads in order from top down, loads in the jQuery library, and then we have access to the script functionality. So now that we've set that up, we can begin creating our form. So this is going to be a Bootstrap project, so we're going to start out by creating a main container. So this container is where we're going to hold our form. So really straightforward. We're not going to do a lot of styling in here. So the idea here is just to create a very simple, straightforward form that we can use on our web pages. If you're not interested in using Bootstrap, of course, you could style the different elements appropriately as needed within your own projects. So the next thing that we want to do, so we want to create a row. So div class row, and within here is now we can start entering some of our content of our form. So let's just create the form for now, and we might want to add some additional styling as well around that. So we've got our form opening and closing tags, and what we want to do, we want to set the action. So we're going to set it as a method, and we're going to post it because this is going to be data that's we want to have some security on the data, so this is why we're using post, and the action is going to simply post back to the current page, which is index.php. And of course, if you're building it out on your web project, then you would link it over, you would put the PHP code over to wherever the page is where you've got the action taking place, and you could keep the PHP code in there. But for the purposes of this lesson, I'm just going to link it within one file so we can scroll down and we can better see the contents of the available file. So the next thing that we have to set up is let's set up a form group. And within Bootstrap, this is a way to group a bunch of elements together so that Bootstrap understands that they're all meant as one contained area. So form group, and close off that div. And then this is where we're going to first start out with a label, and so the name of the input field or the ID of the input field that we want to attach the label to. So we're going to just do a name because this is what the first thing that we're going to be asking from people, and just close that off. And we're going to do some updates as well to this as we go through the lessons. So now let's create our input. So input, and the type is just a regular text input. And we can use this later on as a template in order to reproduce this. So this is our first contained area here where we're going to be asking for the name. So we need to give it an ID, and usually I do IDs and names the same so that it's more in line, it's easier to understand. So I'm going to just do name equals name. So we've got it linked to here, and within the PHP we're going to be picking up a post field called name. We can also enter in a placeholder. So usually I do like to add in placeholders just so that people visually can see what we're expecting. So just do something like enter your name and then close that off. So let's I also want to have a section where, in case the user makes an error on the form or leaves it blank, I want to have the ability to send over that there's been an error within the form. So let's add in a paragraph just below. So let's add in that paragraph just below, and we're going to give it a class. So I want to have a class, this is a Bootstrap class, text danger, so that it comes out nice and red, and we're just going to have our error message, you need to enter a name value. So let's check this out and see what this looks like. So there we go, so we've got the starting of our form. And in the next lesson, we're going to continue to build out the form with using HTML and Bootstrap, and then we're going to add our dynamic interactive functionality with jQuery as we continue with this project. So that's all coming up in the next set of lessons.